Surah 53, An-Najm, by the one who is denoted by the name Allah, who created my being with his names in accord with the meaning of the letter B, the Rahman, the Rahim, by the star, Najm, that describes all of the reality by disclosing it, part by part. Your friend has neither strayed, nor has he erred, nor does he speak from his own inclinations, imagination. It is only a revealed revelation, taught to him by one whose forces are intense. That force became apparent to him, and thus he became open to receiving revelation, while he was at the highest point of the horizon, covering all of externality. Then he approached and descended. Externality transformed into internality, and was as close as the distance between two bow lengths or nearer. Thus he revealed to his servant what he revealed. The heart did not lie about what it saw. The incoming information coalesced with the truth revealed within the brain by the heart neurons. Do you argue with him regarding what he saw? And indeed he saw him again, became aware as the reality descended to his consciousness. The night ascent mentioned in 1760 was not the only such vision. In the presence of the Lot tree, the experience of eternity as pure universal consciousness, near it, the Lot tree, is the paradise of Mawa. When there covered the Lot tree, that which covered it, the light of the reality, covered his being as he lost his sense of being a body. His sight neither wavered to the concept of an other, nor did it transgress its limit. The observation of the reality did not lead him to become Pharaoh-like and defy himself, and it wasn't the typical sickness or trauma that you hear associated with a shaman's story. Indeed, he saw the greatest signs of his Rabb, the names comprising his essence. There's as many narrations about the night ascent, which is generally believed to be the 27th night of the 7th month. And I think there's some narrations in it. There's dispute about that, but as everything before in Muhammad's life, I forget which year it was. He saw the greatest signs of Rabb, the names comprising his essence. Particularly that last verse should be considered when we hear the next three. Did you see Alat and Al-Uzza and Manat the third? Can they make you experience such an ascension? And some people called out when this chapter was first said, with some verses that they, as polytheists, said on their pilgrimage. Something about these crones whose intercession is much availed, which doesn't match the language of the two verses before it, or keep in line with the spirit of the rest of the chapter before or after this point. So those two verses that they would say were stated, but the prophet continued. Oh, and Alat, as in goddess, the mighty she, and the fortune provider. Is the male yours and the female his? If so, that is an unjust division. They are mere names that you and your forefathers gave, for which Allah has not disclosed any proof, baseless names that do not point to anything that actually exists. well, not as actual goddesses, but people talk about the Nakala in some groups. They follow only assumption and the illusory desires of their ego, even though the knowledge of the reality has indeed come to them from the Rub, the reality of the names comprising their essence. Or is there a rule that man shall have whatever he desires, both the eternal life to come and the world are for the manifestations of the names of Allah, and how many angels are there in the heavens whose intercession will not be of any avail except for those to whom Allah allows, those for whom He wills, and with whom He is pleased. And yeah, so don't rely on other people's intercession of any sort. But the angels, perhaps, they would get information to do this, but they wouldn't get the full information about the person. So, indeed, those who do not believe in their eternal life to come define the angels as females. The ancient Egyptians used to draw a female symbol after the word for the light beings, and people eventually, they probably looked at that and judged it as if they were all female. But there's other ways that that came about too. But they have no knowledge, proof thereof. They follow only unverifiable assumptions, and indeed never can assumption reflect the truth. So turn away from those who turn their backs to our dhikr, to the reality we remind them, and who desire nothing but the pleasures of the world. This is the highest point of their knowledge, to live in and die in pursuit of worldly pleasures. They cannot think beyond this. Indeed, your Rabb, who knows better who strays from his way, and who knows better who is guided to the reality. Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth is for the manifestation of the qualities denoted by the names of Allah, that is so He may recompense those who do bad deeds with the consequences of their actions, and requite those who do good deeds with the best reward. They are those who refrain from major mistakes, duality, slander, murder, extramarital sex, etc., and immoralities, fornication, adultery, etc., only committing small mistakes resulting from their human nature. Indeed, vast is the forgiveness of your Rabb. He knows you better, as He comprises your being with His names when He produced you from the earth, your body, and while you were fetuses in the wombs of your mothers. So do not try to exonerate yourselves. He knows better who protects themselves as the Creator with His names. Did you see the one who turned away, who gave little, then refrained from giving? Has he the knowledge of the unknown, so that he sees? Or was he not informed of the pages, knowledge, laws of Moses, and the pages of Abraham, the faithful? No bearer of burdens, guilty one, can bear the burden, offense of another. A man will only accrue the results, consequences of his own deeds, what manifests through him, his thoughts and actions, and the results of his efforts will soon be seen. Then he will live the full results of his deeds. Indeed, the end of all things is to your Rabb. Indeed, it is He who makes one laugh and weep. Indeed, it is it who causes death and gives life, resurrects one with knowledge and enlightenment. Indeed, it is who creates the two sexes, male and female, from a drop of sperm ejected into the womb, Rahim, and upon him as the second creation, second life. And indeed, it is who enriches and deprives, and indeed, it is who is the Rabb of Sirius, the star. People back in the day, some of the ancient Egyptians thought that either it or some separate god of it was the provider, but God being the god of Sirius. And indeed it is who destroyed the former Ad and the Mood, of whom none remains, and before them the people of Noah, Indeed they, yes they, were more unjust and worse in egocentric indulgencies, and he overthrew the cities, the destroyed cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, and thus covered them with their coverings as the result of their deeds. So, which of the favors of your rub will you doubt now? This is a warner, just like the previous warners. That which nears death has neared. There is none to avert the hardship of death besides Allah. Do you find this, the commencement of an eternal life through death, to be strange? And you laugh rather than weeping. You amuse yourselves in heedlessness. And this last verse is one of the 15 prostration passages. Prostrate, experience your non-existence in the sight of Allah, your essential reality with His names, and continue your servitude, this. And place your 7 points upon the ground facing Mecca. Glorify or supplicate accordingly. And this is one of those chapters that, because, the prostration passage, when this was first said, a bunch of people who weren't Muslim prostrated. And just like a couple other examples, Muhammad asked had the people become Muslim. But it was really, a chapter. And some people are just so grateful that their triple goddess idea